Hello everybody, in today's video, we're going to finish the underside of the car here as well as replacing the entire rusted out inner and outer cowl panels. Okay, so let's go. So the first step here is taking the roll lock disc and sanding off. This would be, I guess, part of the frame technically here, and also the part of the rear trunk that's behind the gas tank. This area has not been cleaned or painted. The area above the gas tank I did do when I had the gas tank out last summer. You can see that episode if you'd like. So I'm also scrubbing off the, the rust and the old scale from the outside of the frame rails, as much as I can get. Obviously can't get above the frame rails without taking the body off. This part is using a 60 grit flap disc on the right angle grinder. So I thought I'd take a second here and show you what I'm dealing with. So you can see the rear bumper is off. It's just getting all this stuff under here, the bumper bracket. This would be the bottom of the trunk floor. There's a little bit of rust there I'm trying to get out. I got all that stuff, and you can see here, this would be the trunk extension, I guess, in the bottom of the floor there. I'm trying to get all this stuff. So you can see it's got all this implement green and blue paint on it, and some of the factory stuff. That seems like it's pretty rust-free under there, but so I'm trying to just, get all this as well as I can while I've got it apart. Why is my tooth black? What the hell? I already let some out. This mechanical filter, watch this. Ugh. Man, that thing works. Look at all that water just dumped out of that daggum thing, huh? And it comes out of the bottom here too. Closing up shop for the night. And here's what happens. I've showed this before, like on the floorboards. Once you put that PPG metal prep on there, it's a phosphoric acid etch. It chemically converts the rust. That's what it's supposed to do, so it doesn't, spread or anything like that. But it kind of gives the metal that it turns rust black, and then it turns it like here's an area here that I scraped after. You can see the difference in color of the rust. But my point is, you can tell it's chemically doing something. I believe it turns the surface of the steel, the bare steel, into iron phosphate, I think, which is why it has that, almost looks like it's zinc-plated color. So be ready to undercoat here shortly. It's not quite dry here yet, but you can see some of the really shiny areas where I got it a little bit thicker, like you can see that run there. But yes, I got a run in the paint, but this is like the back of the frame behind the bumper, so give me a break. But I really like the way this stuff goes on. It's got a little bit of a pattern in it, that Rust-Oleum truck bed coating, but it really goes on like thick paint, not like rubberized undercoating. I think it should do a really good job of adhering and getting some corrosion protection. There we go. One more area done. I got the outside of the frame rails too, back here. Look at those tires, huh? Don't they look good? And here's the next day with some daylight. Here's how that whole area came out. Not too shabby. Of course, like you already saw before, there's a run there, but after watching the slow-mo, or after watching the time-lapse video, I didn't realize how much it was running, like live. You could see the paint running in the slow motion, but... By the way, you see a little bit of a blue reflection from this thing here, the pool cover. It's black, it's not blue. And it's kind of a inside joke, but you see I left the blue and implement green paint on the tank, gas tank straps. The entire gas tank, if you go and look at the before picture, was painted that color, and it's just an inside joke. I am doing everything I can to preserve that green and blue on the tank straps, just as a reminder, you know, kind of a joke, but kind of a reminder also of what this all was like before. I just think it's kind of funny. This is not a restoration car. You know, I'm doing the best I can with the resources I have, you know, but it's not too bad, is it, really? So here's the next part of the project. Here's my fist, right? It's a pretty common hole, I understand. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think this is factory. This piece of steel here is very thick. It's much thicker than the factory sheet metal. So I think this patch was added on and it rusted above that. So this is, I think this is called, to give you a frame of reference where I'm at, the outer cowl panel. That's the blower motor. There's where the windshield would be. And I think this is the inner cowl panel. And you can see I have the new AMD parts here. I've used AMD for my AMD A-pillars, both left and right. And that new roof skin is AMD. So here is that same panel. There's what the bottom of it looks like. And the way it fits in there, do you see that there's the inner cowl panel? You see the hole for the blower motor? Yes. Okay. And I think that actually is where the ventilation goes into the cabin. And this should fit like that. And I think that's what the backside should look like. So I'm gonna start cutting this apart. I'll probably put it on time lapse here. And hope, you know, keep my fingers crossed that I can figure this out, right? So I'm gonna section it. I'm definitely not replacing the whole thing. I'm gonna butt weld it somewhere across there. You know, cut it somewhere across there. Let's see, so this outer panel, outer cowl panel wraps around. So this piece of metal here would be the inner cowl panel. We'll figure it out. Okay, I'm going to show you what's going on here. This panel has actually already been replaced. Then when I look from over here, you see they've already they've already patched the cowl panel at least once. And it looks like it's up to here. They did a nice job on it. I mean, other than leaving the rusted panel behind it, which was shitty. But so you see the seam sealer there? That area is, we're looking at this panel right here. Well, no, I guess that's false. There is a seam here from the factory. So I think they patched it here. So I'll have to keep tearing it apart, figure out what we got going on. So let me show you what we've got going on here. This is the inside. That's the floorboard and the inside of that inner cowl panel there you see. And that's a hole right there. Zoom up on it. Yeah, that's a hole. So there's a little more work here than I first thought, but we'll get it done. So So in taking this thing out, additionally, there's 3 bolts. There's one here. It's hard to see. There's one here and one here. And it's almost free. It's still something keeping it stuck. And with the heater box removed, you can see there's one, looks like a plastic kind of Christmas tree fastener there. There's one from the inside coming out there. I think with taking those off, that should let me get the entire heater box out. I know the heater core leaks in this car. Oh, okay, I'm inside the car. Oh, ouch, I banged my head. This is the whole heater box, Once I got, I think it was one of these bottom bolts, that bolt I showed you. It did come out fairly easily. It was stuck a little bit to that insulation stuff there. You know, that was the only thing that, you know, kind of held it in. Once you get them all, there's 4 studs. You see the studs there that just came through? And there was also 3 more I had to take off. This doodad on the outside. This, 3 screws there, and then you see this. You got to put it back. Then it comes straight up out. That was difficult. The reason I'm going through all this is to replace this thing. I knew this thing was bad because, look at that. I knew this thing was bad because when I got the car, oh my gosh, the heater hose, these are the 2 heater hoses that would go to that thing. Those 2 ports would come out right there. These are junctioned together. The only reason you do that in a car is if it's leaking. So, now I took a little extra detour and I'm going to replace that heater core. I do have a brand new one here over in my parts pile somewhere under here. And there it is. Brand new one. So I'll put that in and start putting it back together. I could be wrong on this. You see this outer cowl panel has a lip on it here. It's also got this lip turned up. This thing was definitely underneath here. I'm 99.9% sure the other piece, I mean, it's so hard to tell when it's rusted, you're chiseling apart, but I don't think this lip should be there. I do not, because this thing needs to tuck under there to fit in. Just makes 0 sense to me, so I'm gonna pound that down. You guys got to remember, like, this is my first A body, first time I've really worked on. I had a string of G bodies, so figuring out the construction here. I think it's important to understand the construction so that you can put it back together, right? So you see, this panel here is actually pretty thick. It's structural. There's the thinner stuff, the thinner sheet metal that makes up most of the. Come on, if I can get it to focus. Makes most of the body. Then you've got some stuff here that's thicker, like you can see. This. So what we have here, I don't know the terms for these, right? But we have this stamped cup here, and it kind of ends over here. It wraps around and ends there. You can see it's spot welded on. You see spot weld there. And obviously this is what supports this corner of the whole cab. So if you look from the inside, it's like kind of like comes over, down. And I can feel the bottom of it. The end of it is right in here somewhere. It comes back to right about here, right? Now, then you have the floor. So this is this piece. This right here is the floor/firewall. It should have a lip that goes down. So I'm going to weld this in, and I'm going to drill holes in it so that it can be plug welded there. And then I'm cutting this piece out here. I need to obviously trim it up. But something like this, then, which is thicker to match the gauge of this. Once I put that over, then that will be, well, and I'm probably going to section this too. You know, get rid of some of that rot there as well. Then this will be solid. You can see there's a depression in there. I'll treat this with a metal prep primer, and then I can attach this stuff. So then this panel, this front lip here goes underneath that one there. It's kind of complicated because it has to go underneath and in between. So it goes like that, up in there. Now you see those paint marks. I have to drill holes in there because this is one layer. This already has holes drilled in it, you can see, right? I drilled holes in them, okay? And I need to drill matching holes in this piece so that I can plug weld to this piece. Because if you look, this piece is pretty strong. This is thicker gauge metal. I think it's, you know, the similar stuff they're using here because this makes up your door jamb, right? And you can see it's double walled here. So I gotta basically weld 1, 2, 3 pieces of metal together there. So I think I at least understand the construction and I'm making headway. All right, so I got this piece to make that lip of that floor in, spot welded in. You did see, or maybe you saw, but I put weld through primer between the two. And then you saw here where I sectioned that rusty old piece out. And that was this piece, right? And that's, you know, pretty thin. Is that hole supposed to be there? Maybe? We'll find out when I go to put something in and it needs a hole. But you see I kind of used that edge, so that was a little bit less to weld, so I welded across there, down through here, over, up. I think this should be pretty good. For inner structure, now I need to fit this last patchy patch here. It obviously is too big right now, but I need to fit that. I'll work on that next. So there's that lip welded in, nice and flush, square patch welded in, and I guess the best thing I can say about welding is I'm skilled with a grinder. Not bad though, huh? Okay guys, here's where I'm at. There's the outer cowl panel. Here is the inner one. Gosh, I've literally spent probably 4 or 5 hours just fitting, sanding, drilling, plug weld holes. So there's a contour here. It's kind of a jog. It goes over, down, over. And I tried to get that jog to meet. I had to shove it in quite a bit to get it in there. And I wanted to also make sure there was no gap because this panel, see the panel folds in, so when you don't have it in, you get a gap right there. So I had to, punch holes in the firewall here, and then I marked the holes. You see the little paint pen marks there? I use this little paint pen, thank you, Mr. Mize. And then I marked where the holes were, and then sanded off the you know, that black coating, because I found it does hurt the welding a little bit in my experience. There's a tab behind here. You can see I missed one of the holes, but smarter way to do it. Let me turn the camera around. Smarter way to do it is, you see there, you trace a line, and then from the back side where you can see the line, you drill the hole, and you know, you get it right where you want. So that hole's too low, that one missed completely, you know, whatever, but no one's going to see that, but I'm an amateur, okay? And then same thing here, these holes, there is a brace on the back side there. Let's see if I can show it to you. Yeah, you can see it there, right? So you can see there, getting the back side of that brace. And another thing I'm looking at is a contour here of this panel to this one, and these lips. You see they're pretty well lined up here. So, and then I think there were some spot welds through there that attach this panel to that one in the back. That's the one I sectioned right there. And then also put some holes here so I could spot, you know, plug weld, replicate the spot welds this back down to that. So I think this actually might be ready to weld. I think. Let me also show you. So I can't put it on, but this outer cowl panel will go on over top. And I also, I had to do a little reconstructive surgery. I actually had to go back to the videos from earlier. This is that piece. So what I figured out is early on in the video, this piece was on the outside of the outer cowl panel. It was right here. And I said in the earlier part of the video, oh, this is a repair. And then I'm like, wait a minute. I saw my buddy Ken's car. He showed me pictures of it, you know, before it got, you know, restored. And then I saw 2 or 3 other cars on Facebook, and they all had this funky looking piece here. And you can see I obviously cut through it, taking it off. So I kind of put it back together just enough to see how big it was. And they all had that funky hole in it, you know. So I made my own out of a same thickness steel. This big sheet here I have laying around. Tried to put the bend in it, and then this is going to go on the outside here afterwards. So that's where I'm at right now. Bit of welding there. Difficult to fit because it didn't really fit tremendously well. But again, this is inside of the vent, so I'm not as concerned about it. The welds down through there. You see the welds there, through there. Now I'm going to grind them down. Oh, holy smokes. That was a lot of welding. But it is together. I think it's pretty solid. And there's that plate I made. Ooh, piece of welding wire sticking out. All right, it is together, huh? And by the way, here's the scrap metal pile. All the pieces that came off. I just kind of, I was tacking some of them together just to, you know, for grins, I guess, just to see what the panel shape was. I already showed you that one. But man, look at all that. And that's where the rust hole was like that. And here's that piece. And I think I have one last area of rust to repair on this car. Here's the outer cowl panel on the other side. I don't think it's gonna be as bad as the other side. But there's only one way to find out. So after that, then I think I'll have a rust-free car here. So it's coming along. So here's what we're dealing with. There's that plate. It has a crease along it. I need to check. I don't know if that's factory. Probably is. But you see some rust back behind here. So I'm gonna have to just start disassembling and see what we get. So here's what I found. I saw a weld line. I looked up a picture of the new AMD panel, which looks just like the other side. It comes all the way down and wraps under here in one piece. So when I saw, you know, a weld line there that didn't belong there, yeah, I started to uncover spot welds, and then this panel was up behind there. So not a great job done. Again, you know, typical. Looks like quick, bang it out, get it done. Body shop kind of stuff to me. I don't know yet that this is bad enough to warrant a new AMD panel. This may be simple enough. I just make the panels myself. I'm going to keep taking it apart, but this, I think I'm going to section that off cleaner. I think we've got good metal up there, but I do need just to get a little more access to see what this inner structure looks like. I'm not exactly sure. This is obviously, this part that I just peeled away is obviously part of the outer cowl panel. And it does have an inner cowl panel. So if this is built like the other side, there's the inner layer here, which is part of the cab, then the inner cowl panel, then the outer cowl panel. So I may have to do kind of the same thing, just rebuild some of this. I don't think it's as bad though. Okay, I figured out what's going on. So this panel was here. I saw on the inside, this little flap sticking up here was the clue. In other words, I saw metal, overlapping metal kind of like that. So this is another panel that was put in when there was rust repair done. There's where it was cut. There's the factory seam there. This is one piece of metal, but for some reason it overlaps. I think it's the way they produce the panel anyway. There's a seam there. So now I know what I'm dealing with. This I kind of had a clue about. This car's actually had some kind of collision damage here. This front bolt here should attach to the fender. It never did. And I saw this earlier when I was working on the car. So this is crushed. So this definitely needs help here. So I'm going to try to unbend that, but I think I actually have to replace it. But I need to unbend it to see how big it really is. So, as usual, it's always worse than you think. So I'm not sure if there's a jog in this panel. I think there might be, but this I'm pretty sure is part of the body. And then we've got the inner cowl panel. I'm going to look them up, see what these panels are supposed to look like. I think I'm going to buy some panels. So ran up to Summit Racing, and here is the new outer cowl panel. That's what the bottom of it is supposed to look like. And that was 85 bucks. This one was 135. This is the inner cowl panel. And I just found out, thanks to my friends on Oldsmobile Club of America Facebook page, specifically Mr. Brian Trick, the guy who built my rear axle, that this panel is available as well. I need to disassemble more. So here's the area with the outer cowl panel cut off. I just cut it off since I'm going to replace the inner cowl panel. And by the way, in case you hadn't guessed, I'm replacing both full panels. But I don't have to worry about, I mean, I know that I can damage this stuff taking it out because I'm not only removing the outer panel, but the panel it's attached to, so I don't have to be neat with it. I need to try and separate it here while salvaging the metal behind there. I think one of the tougher things is these panels are both so rusted. This is called this piece that is part of this piece that the fender bolt to, I figured out, is called cowl to rocker reinforcement panel. That's part of the cab. I think the tough part is I can't tell where the inner cowl panel starts and where the rocker to cowl panel reinforcement begins. That's the toughest part about this. But anyway, I'm going to keep plugging along. Man, so here's the old inner cowl panel, right? And you can see the bottom of it is like, I honestly could not tell if there was any of this bottom part of it left. I think it's kind of all gone. And then here's what it's supposed to look like, right? There's the new panel. So I revoke my previous statement about this side's not as bad. This is called the cowl to rocker reinforcement panel. There's a couple different names for it, but Dynacorn makes it. It's part number 1419, L as in Lima. But it's hard to get, and I don't know if I want to wait. It's fairly flat, except for that ridge there and that pocket there. This bend here. This bend has a little bit of a jog in it. Not much, 2 holes to mount the fender. And then there are kinks in it, 2 little kinks in it, kind of reinforce that leg. So I don't know. I'm leaning more and more towards maybe making this myself. I'm not sure. Figuring this out as I go. I'll keep you updated. You know the saying, if it's stupid but works, it's not stupid, right? So tape, part, scissors. We'll see if this works. Ouch. Man. 70,000 steel is not easy to bend. Whew. So what I did here was I placed the fender back on temporarily and put it just with one bolt in the cowl here. And I wanted to see where the bottom of this rocker cowl reinforcement was. Like I said, it was damaged, but I think I have it straightened out enough to see where it is, height relative to the ground on the front and back bolt. And, you know, I'm taking a shot of it here from the front because I want to make sure when I put the new one in, I get these holes and that flange back where it needs to be. Now, this is getting a little complicated. So here's the rocker to cowl reinforcement panel, whatever it's called. This is pretty basic here. It's spot welded. You can see I already drilled some out to this flange here, which is this piece. I don't know what it's called, but it holds the body up. There's nothing back here, but you can see it's spot welded here. That's not so bad. But it's spot welded here to this piece and here. There's probably 2, maybe 3 spot welds right there. I could get to those probably. So I think that's what I'm gonna have to do. Remove the spot welds here. Oh, and then also this right here, you can see that right there? You see my finger? Where's my finger? Right there. That's the bottom of the floor. Can you tell? That's the lip. This is the floor comes down. Oh, wait, no, that's this piece. Then the floor is in there too somewhere. So I got to remove this off of the floor and this piece without disturbing them. I think I can do it. First part here ready to put together. Weld through primer. I've got it prepped, dollied flat. Got my little patchy patch made, and I think it fits pretty well if I can get it in place. Some of those holes in the bottom don't line up. Those holes don't line up. I have to cut that short and punch it again. But you get the idea. A little weld through primer on the back of this. There it is. Holes line up. Decent gaps. Go. Ready for the next phase. Oh, my dogs. There's the piece. What I did was I added, can you see that? Get it in the light. It's like a rib. It's not as defined as the factory piece. And I don't know that's in the exact right location there, but I think it basically gives strength, you know, to that lower part. You can see here, I mean, a photocopy, I tried to cut it out life size, but it's not. You can see it there. Right, that feature, and there's one down there. So I'm in the ballpark. I think it's good enough for government work. I've got the piece painted with a weld-through primer. And I'm gonna place it, get it, clamped in place. There it is, all welded up. I'm not super proud of my welding. I mean, I guess just more self-conscious because obviously this is on YouTube, but it still sputters sometimes. I'm not sure if I have heat too high, and I can see a couple of gaps there, but I'll grind it down. Okay, here's the inner cowl panel placed in there, tucked under like it's supposed to be, tucked under there. And you can see the gap here, it's tight. It fits nice down here. Now I just got to mark on the, where this back panel is, because it's, it's further back, and then drill a series of holes to make plug welds. And drill a series of holes here, get rid of the EDP coating. It does contaminate your welds. I need to be disciplined with that. And get rid of the coating in there too. And I think I've got this ready to weld in. You can see I've got the weld through primer there on the back side, but not, on the back side, but like places like here, you see I've got the weld through primer on the back side of the inner cowl panel, but not on the outside, which is not necessary. And I was very careful this time to scrub off all that black EDP electrode deposit primer coating on the back and front of every weld. And you see I've got, holes there for the plug welds. So I think I'm gonna do some gapping here, but I've got enough places where it's contacting, I can weld it in, like here, around here. Then I'll start moving the clamps and make sure that everything is closed up when I weld it. I sprayed it with this stuff that I've been using on the floors too. Truck bed coating. It goes on really like a thick paint. Give it some rust protection. I masked off where I'm going to be welding. Try and get it in some of the gaps. All right, it's all prepped. The inner cowl panel is in. See the weld through primer there. And the outer cowl panel as well. It's ready to go. Let me get that fitted on. And I got that little plate welded on. Just made that out of some sheet stock like I did the other side. I did it a little more correctly though. The other side I didn't put that 90-degree lip on because I didn't know it was there because it was all rusted, but I, you know, I'm happy with that. Here we go. I can't tell you the feeling right now, guys. Oh, by the way, I forgot to show you. I did put some marks down here. Put some marks. You can see that's the center line of the hole that I haven't drilled yet. And then if you can see the other black line, it's about where the bottom of the plate should be relative to the old one. And I think I got them right on where it should be. I haven't tried fitting the fender yet, but I'm pretty confident about it. But I just can't tell you how gratifying this is. It's how defeating it felt to buy this car. And, you know, I mean, for me, it was a decent amount of money spent on it, you know. And then only to find all this rust and rot in it and take on an entire new project. But, by the way, I actually did this wrong. This panel should be over top of that one. That's why I complained about that lip, so I was wrong about that. But anyway, once I put seam sealer on it, you'll never know the difference. But you've already seen the back of it, but can't tell you. Oh, just it's so nice to have this all back together. I can't wait to get it primed and painted and seam sealed. Not necessarily in the order. All right, thank you guys so much for watching and following along. Hit that little thumbs up button if you did like this. If you'd like to subscribe, you know what to do as well. Check out my playlist. I got a lot of stuff related to this car and the sartorial stuff if that's what you're into. All right, God bless you guys. Thank you so much.